Hello, third graders. Happy Monday. We are now in the third week of our Brazil hybrid piece. My hair, my hair is like blowing all over the way. It's very, very hot when I'm filming this, and I have the fan blowing on me, so I hope this is not too much of a distraction. Anyhow, I want to help you help you guys get started with your piece. Now, I know that I'm going to share my screen. I know that some of you might have already decided that you're going to start, and you've, like last week, you kicked into overdrive and boom, you're in. But if you are some of the ones that have not started yet, you have to know how to. And so I wanted to just go back for a quick second and remind you that you've done this extensive research on Brazil. You know all about these different cultural topics, and you chose 3 of them. For me, I chose daily life, landmarks, and food. In addition to that, you did extensive research on those 3 topics. You also started to plan your story. So now you know who the characters are, how they got there, what your lead is, a possible lead that you thought of when you were doing some planning. And you're going to know what each of those cultural experiences are, and you've made some specific choices about the order that they're going to appear in your story. Now it's time to begin. Just want to dive in and go for it, right? Yes and no. So what I did was I put together a little how to start our story little document here. When you are starting, you want your readers to want to read your piece. That's the big thing. And if they're not interested in the first couple of paragraphs, they're going to turn the page. They're not going to want to read anymore. They're just going to go to the next thing. So I wanted you to know that there are 3 little techniques that you might choose to start your story. So if you're one of the kids that already started last week, I'm strongly suggesting that you go back and you check and you see if your introduction, your lead, your first paragraph sounds like one of these 3. All right, it's either dialogue or setting or action. So if it starts with dialogue, it might sound something like this. Honey, we're heading out. Are you ready? Susie's mom called her from the front door. The house would soon be quiet, and her parents would have some time to themselves. Susie and her sister Sarah were heading to Brazil. Or maybe, oh, I'm so nervous about today. I mean, I'm excited, but my stomach feels like it's full of butterflies on a summer day in the park. Susie was feeling the pangs of jitters the same ones that she felt right before a big trip. But this one was different. This time she would be without her parents, instead with new ones. Okay, maybe you want to start your story out with, instead of dialogue, maybe you want to start it out with setting. The airport was cool and perfectly air conditioning. Throughout the halls were shiny floors and people hustling and bustling to find their gates. Susie was doing the same. She knew, however, that soon she would not feel that cool comfort, as Brazil was known to be hot at this time of the year, and in the town where she was staying, there would not be crowds of people. Or maybe you want to try a little action. Susie lifted her arm from her pocket. It felt clammy, and then she waved with all of her energy that she could muster up. The door to the plane was soon closed as the overhead racks clambered shut. An adventure of a lifetime awaited, and she would embark on it with butterflies, goosebumps, and gratitude. I'm actually going to change that. Instead of butterflies, I'm going to do jitters. Jitters. With jitters, goosebumps, and gratitude. Okay, so here's 3 possibilities. Now, I decided that for my story, I'm going to actually go with dialogue. So I banged something out in my plan, but what I ended up with was this. Whee! I'm so excited to go to Brazil, Susie said. As she was packing, she had won an essay contest to go to Rio de Janeiro with a family member. Susie knew it would be a 45-minute drive to JFK, so she spent that time researching some landmarks and food in the big city while her sister played samba music on her iTunes. What readers know so far from the first paragraph? They already know who, what, where, why, when. She knows this. The character Susie is going to Brazil. That's who. She's going with her sister. That's another who. How and why she's doing this? Well, she won an essay contest. And where she's going to Rio de Janeiro. She lives in New York City. She's driving to JFK. If I wanted to add something to this right now, it might be, she spent that time researching some landmarks and food in the big city while her sister played song. It doesn't say anything about when, but I could add that in if I wanted to. Or not. Maybe it's not important right now to like bang too much out in the first paragraph. Maybe I want to add that in my next paragraph. All right. I want to just say to you again, it's important for you to remember that your first paragraph is going to be what entices your reader. It's going to be what your reader is like, oh, I want to read this story. And if it's not, it doesn't have that interesting sort of flair, there's a chance that your reader is going to be like, meh, and not be interested. So, you know, try at dialogue, setting, or action to see if that works. If you've already started your story, I'm going to implore you to go and try a different approach to see if you can come up with something better. All right. Remember also, folks, you have in your graphic organizer, not only do you have your place to do all the research, your place to plan, your place to actually start writing, but below that, in the same document, is your rubric, which tells you what you need to think about when you're doing this work. You know, in terms of revising and editing. All right. Tomorrow we'll get a little bit more into that when I do my next video for you. Okay. I love you all. Have a lovely rest of your day and get writing.